So, I'm not gonna lie, this film wasn't at all what I expected it to be. Nope. So, Nope is written and directed by Jordan Peele. And basically, the film follows the story of Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer's characters, who, at the start of the film, their father dies at the hands of this UFO, so they try and get the money shot of this UFO so they can continue their careers in film and television. However, as they try and capture this money shot, a lot of complications occur, especially when it turns out that this UFO/alien is more dangerous than they initially thought. And that's basically the plot of Nope. I mean, there's a lot more to it than that, but that's essentially the plot of the film. And honestly, I liked this movie. I did. And I kind of see it as, like Jordan Peele's version of Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It's got a lot of build-up in there. It's a lot of things about the aliens and who the aliens are, what is the UFO and stuff like that. And there's a lot of build-up in the film, much like Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And then the third act is the big payoff. And I think the third act of the film works fantastically. Unfortunately, though, I do think the film's got problems in its first two acts. I do think it's a bit slow, but I'll get onto that a bit later in the review. But I did still like this film, though. I did still enjoy watching the cinema, and I found it really, I don't know, I liked watching it. I didn't find it that interesting. I was about to say I found it really interesting to watch. I didn't, I've got to admit, which is another problem with the film. But at the same time, though, I did like watching it, funnily enough. I wanted to see where it was going, and I kind of like how he left it. Because I watched the film a couple hours ago now, and I came out of the cinema, I was a bit disappointed by it. But then I got the bus home, and I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of interesting. I went down a rabbit hole with one of the storylines of the film as well, to do with Chimp, which I'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, I was looking stuff up online, I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And actually, the more I think about the film, the more I like it. It's one of those movies, the more I think about it, the more it actually starts to grow on me. So I'm definitely going to watch it again, and where we're doing a review of the film, I don't know. But at the same time, though, it's just, yeah, it's very different than Jordan Peele's previous two movies. Like, he directed Get Out in 2017, and I really liked Get Out. In fact, I love Get Out. I think it's a great movie. And also, he did Us in 2019. And I didn't like Us as much as Get Out, but I did still really enjoy it, and I thought it was really, wow, something. I really did. I remember watching that film. This is very violent, more violent than I anticipated it to be. But I still really liked Us. But this movie is completely different than both Us and Get Out. And I think in a good way. I like the fact that Jordan Peele didn't just make another flat-out horror movie, which, a lot of directors would do. A lot of directors could just continue the line of genre filmmaking they've been doing, and Jordan Peele didn't do that. He did something very different. He did kind of like a sci-fi sort of mystery film. I mean, it does have some horror in there, but it's predominantly more sci-fi and more thrilling. It's more of a thriller, that's what I'm trying to say there. It's more of a thriller and more of a sci-fi. It's not a horror movie, much like Us and Get Out was. I mean, I suppose Get Out was a thriller as well, but at the same time, no, this movie is very different than Get Out. And I liked watching it, mainly for the fact that it was beautifully shot. I think it's an amazing looking film. Like, the scope of this movie is fantastic. It's huge. It's so much bigger than Get Out and Us combined. And I love that about it. It's Jordan Peele's most spectacular film to watch. It really is. Like, I remember reading an interview a couple of weeks ago from Jordan Peele when he said when he was writing this movie and when he was directing it, one of the things he had in mind was he wanted to create spectacle because he wrote this film during the pandemic when people weren't at cinema. So he wanted to create a spectacle with this movie, and he did that. Honestly, just watching the cinema, watching the shots in the movie, it's quite incredible. You watch it and go, wow, just the way this looks, and like the way the UFO looks. And again, I'm trying not to give anything away with the UFO/alien in this movie. I'm trying not to give anything away. But the way that looks, though, is fantastic, especially towards in this movie. Honestly, there's some shots of this film, which is that whole thing, every frame of painting. You could literally take one frame of this film and put it in a picture frame, and it look beautiful. It's just, yeah, the cinematography of this film is fantastic. The performances are all great as well. Daniel Kaluuya, who was so great in Judas and the Black Messiah, which won an Oscar for the last year. I thought it was fantastic in the movie. Was it last year? Or was it 2020? I can't remember when that film came out now, but Judas and the Black Messiah, he was fantastic in that movie, and also he was fantastic in Get Out. And also, he was in that one episode of Doctor Who, by the way. I didn't think I was going to bring this up, but he was in that one episode of Doctor Who where that was it, Planet of the Dead. They were on a bus in the middle of the desert, and he was great in that one episode as well. Besides, yeah, that's got nothing to do with this whatsoever. Although, Doctor Who and Nope, both sci-fi sort of genre entertainment, so they go there. But anyway, nonetheless, yes, Daniel Kaluuya is fantastic in this film as well. He's great in Get Out, he's great in Judith Side, that was a plan of making, and he's great in this movie. He's very different though. He's very different in this film than he was in Get Out, and he's very different in this film than he was in Judas and the Black Messiah, because, you know, he's got that sort of he's got that sort of ability with his performance where he's not saying anything, but he's saying everything at the same time. You know, if you got what I mean there, he's not saying anything out loud. He's not giving any sort of explanation for what's going on. There's no exposition with his character. But at the same time, though, it's just his eyes and the way he just his mannerisms and just his face expressions. They say everything about what's going on with him and what sort of character he is without actually saying it out loud. And I really like that about his performance. I love that whole idea of, you know, show don't tell. I love that in movies. And also, Keke Palmer is fantastic as well. Like, I love the way the film showcases her talent. I love how she has the time to shine throughout the end of the movie as well. I think she's fantastic. I think all the supporting performances are great as well. And yeah, I really enjoyed watching it. And my favourite part of the movie was the final half an hour to an hour. Honestly, I was sitting there, and it was like I was watching a Spielberg 70s movie, like Close Encounters, or like Jungle Express, or like Jaws, or even going to the 80s a bit. It had a bit of like an Indiana Jones touch in there to a certain degree. You know, it felt very Spielbergian. I don't even know if that's a word, I think it is, but nevertheless, it felt very Spielberg, you know, that whole final act of the movie. Just the way it built up, Michael Abel's score, which sounds very John Williams-esque, but not in a bad way whatsoever. John Williams is my favourite music composer of all time. I love him. So when the score was kind of sounded John Williams-esque, I thought, oh, this is really good, I really like where it's going. It was all very Spielberg and the final act of the movie, and I was loving it. Unfortunately, though, the rest of the movie wasn't like that. And I think there's a lot of slow parts in the first two acts of the film, which I kind of wish weren't so slow. I kind of wish the film sped up a bit and cut out some sections. They feel like some unnecessary moments, and it feels like scenes, you know, going a bit too much in this film. I wanted to get to the next scene quicker. I wanted to find out what was going on in this UFO quicker. I wanted to find out what was going to happen in this scene quicker. I felt that quite a lot in this movie. And it's not to say that the slow scenes are boring. I'm not saying that. I just kind of felt that I wanted the film to be a bit faster. I think it should have been, I just wanted to be more faster in its pace, kind of like Get Out and Us Are. I mean, I know I'm comparing this movie to Get Out quite a bit in this review, but bear in mind they're all directed by the same person. But still, nevertheless, I felt the film was a bit slow, but wasn't boring, if you get what I mean. But at the same time, though, I think it could have been more tighter and more to the point. And at the same time, though, the film is split into, like, chapters as well. Like, sometimes on screen it'll come up with, like, a word to describe what's going to happen in this section of the film. And sometimes that took me out of it, which I didn't always like. It took me out of my experience watching the movie, which I didn't always enjoy. And also at the same time, though, there's this whole storyline to do with a chimpanzee in the film, which I really enjoyed watching. Like, basically, this whole storyline revolves around this chimp, which is on this comedy show. I think the show is called Gordy's Home, and the chimp is called Gordy, so there you go there. But yeah, basically, this whole storyline with this chimpanzee, who's on this comedy show, and then one day it just cracks, and then basically this chimp kills all the cast and crew on this show, apart from one of the characters in that scene who survives, and then we see him as an adult later on in the movie. He's one of the main characters, actually. He's played by Stephen Yeun, I think, and he's one of the main characters of the film. You've seen the poster. He's the one with the cowboy hat on the poster. But yeah, basically, there's this whole thing through the chimpanzee who, you know, works on this comedy show, and then basically one day he cracks and he attacks all the cast and crew on this comedy show. And I really enjoyed that storyline. I did. But I don't know if it gelled well with all the stuff going on with the UFO. I don't know if it worked as well as, you know, Jordan Peele wanted it to. Like, there is a thread connecting the chimp storyline to the UFO storyline, which I've already mentioned, with Stephen Yeun's character. But at the same time, though, I just wanted there to be more of a connection. It didn't feel like it gelled well. It felt like there was two different movies going on there. It felt like Jordan Peele wanted to make two different films in this one film, just with those two different storylines. And I liked both of those storylines. I'm not saying that the chimpanzee storyline was bad or that the UFO storyline was bad. I enjoyed both of those storylines. But, you know, if Jordan Peele just made a film about the chimpanzee, Gordy the chimpanzee, on this comedy show, I'd be much more interested in that just as the main story of one movie, rather than putting it as like a B storyline in this film. That's just kind of the way I feel. And yeah, I love that storyline though. I love the whole storyline with the chimp. Like, I must admit, after I watched the film, I looked it up online, what was the whole story with the chimp about? And you go down a bit of a rabbit hole. Like, there's this whole context to the whole chimp storyline. You'll understand a bit more once you watch the movie, but this whole context with the chimp storyline, where basically in 2009, apparently, there was a chimp attack on this woman. I think her name was Charlotte Nash or something like that, and this chimp called Travis the Chimp, he had worked in TV, but then one day he viciously attacked her, and then it caused scars all over her head and things like that. It's a really heartbreaking story, and it's a really horrifying story at that, but I was looking up after watching the movie and thinking, wow, you know, I didn't realise the context behind that story in the film. And if you do go and watch the movie, by the way, do go and check out that story. It's really interesting to read, at least it was for me anyway. And yeah, I really like that chimp storyline in this movie. I just don't know if it gelled well with the UFO storyline. Because the UFO storyline is interesting, but it felt like it took so much time to get to the really interesting Spielberg stuff towards the end of the movie with that UFO storyline, at least for me. I did still like this film. I thought it was beautifully shot. I thought it was really well made. I think it's Jordan Peele, you know, maturing as a director. Like, I know some people have come out and said it seems that Jordan Peele is deteriorating as a director. Personally, I don't feel he is. It's the same people who said that, you know, Edgar Wright was deteriorating as a director as well when he made Last Night in Soho. No, they're just maturing as directors. There's a big difference. It's not like they're getting bored of the style or they're getting bored of filmmaking. No, they're just doing things which are different. You know, I love the fact that Last Night in Soho was so different than any other Edgar Wright movies. And another fact that Nope, this movie, is very different than all of Jordan Peele's previous films as well. I love that about this movie. And I liked it, I did, but I need more time to think about it, to be honest. Like, I only watched the film a couple of hours ago now, and as good as it was, I did still really enjoy watching it. It's just one of the films which is more thought-provoking. It's definitely the more thought-provoking of all of Jordan Peele's 3 films, but that's not to say it's bad. It's just very different, and it was very unexpected as well. This was not the film I expected it to be, but at the same time though, I do like how it goes Spielberg in his third act. I think the performances are great from Daniel Kaluuya and Kiki Palmer, the lead two performances, should I say. I also think Michael Abel's score is fantastic, like I said before, very John Williams-esque, and I like the Chimp storyline. Don't know if it gelled well with the main story, but still, nevertheless, I did like the film overall, and I thought it was really good. And you know what? I am happy I saw it. It was worth a watch, and I'll definitely be checking it out again. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that Nope. I'm going to say that's a 7.8 out of 10. I've given it that rating there, because I can't give it 8 out of 10, because I didn't love it. I didn't think it was great, but I've got a feeling on my second watch I will. You know, it's one of those movies where I need to see it again, to be honest, to really get my head around it. But at the same time, though, when I was watching it today, I was thinking, oh, this is very interesting, the way it's very different than Us and Get Out, and like the context behind some of the storylines, like the Chimp storyline with Gordy's home and things like that. I thought that was all really interesting in the movie. I don't know. It was very different than what I expected, and I'm a bit thrown off by that. But that's not to say it's bad. I'm not saying it's bad whatsoever. It's different, and there were some slow parts as well, which I've got a feeling that even if I watch the film a second time, which I will be doing, even if I watch the film a second time, though, I still have those problems with it, though. I still have problems with the fact that it's slow, and that it takes a while to get to the most exciting parts, in my opinion. But one thing I almost got to mention, actually, was there's a lot of tension building in this film, which is done fantastically. About this, so we can hear a bike outside there, but still, nonetheless, there's a lot of tension in the film, which is built up really well, and which I really enjoyed watching. You know, Jordan Peele did such a great job with tension in Get Out, and he does just as good job with the tension building in this film as well. And I liked it. It was just not what I expected whatsoever. And by the way, I should say, sorry if you can see me sweating buckets. I'm currently recording this review on like one of the hottest days of the year. It's like 29 degrees outside. I'm absolutely boiling. I'm in the warmest room in the house. So sorry for sweating buckets. I'm sorry for handmade 100%, because sometimes I don't always think the best in the heat. It's just the way I work. But still, nonetheless though, I did like this film. It was worth watching. I'm probably going to go and see it again. You know, it was very different compared to Us and Get Out, and it was not what I expected whatsoever. But at the same time, though, even my problems with the film, I did still like it. It was a spectacle. It felt very much like Jordan Peele's version of Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind, but not in a bad way whatsoever. It did feel like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And although, by the way, it isn't as good as Close Encounters, by no means, Close Encounters is one of my favourite Steven Spielberg films. I adore that film. The more I think about it, I just, oh god, I love that film so much. Although it isn't as good as Close Encounters, because Close Encounters has a great build-up throughout its 2-hour runtime, although it isn't as good as Close Encounters, it's still good in my opinion. It is. And it's just, it was not what I expected whatsoever, but still worth a watch. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that Nope, I'm going to say that's a 7.8 out of 10 from me. Anyway guys, what do you think of Nope? Please do comment down below. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Anyway guys, thank you as always for watching, and if you haven't yet, please do click down below and subscribe on this video, and look forward to many more, both film and TVs, come very soon on this channel. See you guys again soon, but bye for now. Bye!